What's going on, guys? Welcome to Boosted Motorsports. I'm John and we are building this Dodge Viper GTS ACR edition. Yes, a limited edition car. And in the last episode, we ended up getting our engine and transmission finally mounted in the chassis. So we're taking this Viper ACR and we are removing the V10 engine out of it. She's out. So the engine is out of the car, drivetrain is fully out. We have a massive opening. All right, so the engine is mounted, you guys. What the fuck? So we had to do what we had to do. A lot of cutting, a lot of grinding, but it is in there, it's mounted, and it is solid. So now it's fully supported. We also have the 8-speed automatic in here. This is the world's first 8-speed swapped Viper. I have never seen one before. Normally these are a 6-speed manual. We removed it all. We've got the original Viper engine over there, the original T56 over there, and this thing is going to rip. So in this episode, we're gonna be getting a lot of the plumbing done and situated. We gotta figure out how to get old connected with new. So like I said, nothing is connected at this point in time. We gotta figure out how to get from this water neck over to that water neck. Also that one has to go to the other side. Unfortunately, everything's kind of reversed on our cooling setup, but it is what it is. And then also, I think by the end of this video, I am going to be showing you guys some stuff, but I want to take this out of the way for a couple reasons. One, this turbo is right where I could possibly mount my power steering pump. I haven't decided if we're gonna be mounting the power steering pump here or if we're gonna go with an electronic power steering pump, but I could possibly put it here if the turbo wasn't in the way. And we got a lot of stuff to sort out. So let's get underway. I'm gonna start removing some stuff. The other thing too is this turbo sticks up quite a bit. So I haven't tried testing the hood just yet, but I know at least with this PCV port that normally goes to there, that it would be too high, so that's one of the factors as well. So let's go ahead and remove the turbo system here, and we'll see if our power steering pump would even remotely fit in this area. Okay, I think I might have this turbo free. This is both oil, lubricated, and liquid cooled. So there's a ton of lines on this thing. But I think I might have it free. We'll find out in a second. I got the oil line disconnected from the bottom. This line needs to come out of here. See if I can pop that out. Got her out. There's one turbo. All right, well, that freed up a ton of room. So I think I was explaining on the last video to you guys, but the manifold for these is integral to the head. It looks like you can open this up quite a bit if you were to port this, but that is not something we have time for, unfortunately, given the time constraints. But let's go ahead. I'm gonna disconnect this turbo and we'll get this out of our way. Also, it's pretty easy to take these off, surprisingly. I don't know how it would be on, you know, the vehicles it comes in, whether it's a Jeep or a Ram, but on this Viper setup, it's pretty easy to take apart. So underneath this little heat shielding is a rubber line. That's why you're able to move it so easily. But yeah, oil, lubricated, liquid cooled, twin turbo setup. Pretty crazy, complex setup. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this one off. Okay, turbo number 2 should be free. We gotta get the oil drain line off the bottom, which I can't get my hand in there, but should be able to wiggle it off because the bolt's free. Just gotta break the seal on the O-ring. We're almost there. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. In there. All right. Okay, turbo number 2. All right, so this is the whole rat's nest of hoses that we're left with. So we've got, these two are our oil feed lines to the turbos. These two are 2 separate drains. The way it works is you can see the oil feed comes off here, splits into 2, but it has 2 drain backs into the block. So if we end up going single turbo, we're only gonna need one of these guys. And then this is our coolant feed line. And then these are our lines that go from this water neck and eventually make it all the way here for our coolant. So I don't know if I'm gonna cap this and cap these, or I might try to come in here, tee it, and then that way, I don't know if these would potentially allow for air to escape from the block. So kind of like a steam port on an LS maybe. So I might try to loop these in and then bring it over to our coolant tank, just so that if these do cool the head, that they are still going to be functioning, just to let air escape out of our block. But anyways, let me start removing some of this stuff, clean this up. Okay, so turbo stuff is all out, all the lines are out, and that's out of the way. Our replacement hasn't shown up just yet. It's supposed to get here this afternoon. So while I wait for that stuff to arrive so I can start mapping that out, I actually started another little project here. So here's our Hellcat, our Hellcat swapped Dodge Dakota. If you guys have never seen this, I would highly encourage you guys to go check out this build, because this build was absolutely crazy. And if you guys haven't seen, we did a bunch of stuff. We put VIPER brakes on the front of this, and it's got a complete 2019 Dodge Charger interior in it, but it also does have a 15-inch conversion. So I'm kind of taking a page out of this book. It's been almost 5 years since I built this truck, so kind of just stole the stuff out of there. We're definitely putting Mickey Thompsons on it, but these are old tires that I had on these 15-inch wheels, and I wanted to get a 15-inch conversion on it. So if you look on this side of the car, we've got these forge lines, and we've got these huge oversized rotors and oversized Brembo brakes. These are 14-inch rotors, you guys, so there's no way 15-inch wheel would fit over top of a 14-inch rotor. So what I'm doing is test fitting some stuff. There's the old 14-inch rotor. I've got this tiny little rotor, and it's got the 6-bolt pattern on it. And what I'm doing is actually retrofitting the original calipers that came on this car here. So what I'm doing to do that is making up a bracket. I took off our billet aluminum bracket that we originally had from the big brake kit, and then I'm coming up with some stuff here, cutting a bracket. It's going to bolt into the 2 bolts for the hub, same way as our billet aluminum one will, and then it'll give us a 15-inch conversion on this. So kind of just messing with that. I haven't really, there's not really any documentation on doing a 15-inch conversion on one of these cars, so I'm getting it done. We also, a little update for you guys, we've got some half shafts coming, so some beefed up ones are there, and then the drive shaft also is being built as well. So we kind of have a bunch of stuff on the go all at once. So I'm gonna keep working on this. I just got some steel, some 1/4-inch steel here, some angle iron, and that's gonna wrap around here. I just gotta cut it to size, get it shaped in here, and then our ears over here to bolt up to the caliper will go there. If you guys are wondering, we did have to cut this off from here quite a long time ago, actually, for the big brake kit. So that originally went, I can't remember if it was this way or maybe it was that way. Regardless, I think it was like that, and that mounted to this caliper. So now I got to make up something different to fit that smaller rotor. So that's what I'm doing. I'll show you guys how it comes out. All right, so I've paused on our brake project just while I wait for the actual rotors to show up. So went ahead and ordered the rotors. They should be here in a few days, but I got all of my brackets all made up. I'm gonna have to, you know, clean it up or whatnot. This was just some old angle iron that I had that I'm gonna repurpose, but it'll be fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I just gotta clean it up before I actually weld on the tabs and stuff. But I don't want to weld on the tabs until I get the actual rotors that are gonna go on it, just in case there's any slight variances. What I do have in my hand right now is the belt. So I did go and get a bunch of belts. I took a simple string, wrapped it around where it's got to go. Reason why it's slightly different is because normally there would be an AC compressor down there, and every modern vehicle has AC, so there's not like a length that's specified without AC, so having to do it the old school way. And I got a bunch of belts here, so hopefully one of these fits. So I'm gonna test out these belts and get one of these on here. All right, so ended up getting the belt on here, so this one's all gonna work. Tensioner is a little tighter than I would maybe want it, but it's on there nonetheless. It's about in the middle, maybe a little bit tighter than, you know, right in the center of the tensioner, so she'll live like that. But cat is out of the bag, you guys. So if you guys are kind of getting what I'm hinting at, Yes, we are going to be putting a big nasty turbo on this thing. So shout out to HPT Turbos. We've got their T4 flange. This is a 7175 F3 turbo. So this is capable of 1275 horsepower if we want to take it there. Check out how nice this thing is, you guys. Their bearing technology, like, look at that. This thing is gonna spool like no other. Not only that, but I'll tell you the reason why I wanted to go with this turbo specifically. We went with a divided T4 flange. What that means is if you guys look inside there, you're gonna see that they are separated all the way through. You can actually see it in the ribbing of the turbo. So that means that the exhaust pulses are separated and they're kept separate all the way until it hits the turbine wheel in there. And the reason why I wanted to go with that is because I wanted to play into the engineering that this engine already has. So you'll see we've got 2 exhaust ports here. So that means these 3 cylinders, these front 3, they're coming out of this. And then these back 3, they're coming out of this manifold that's both casted in the head. So we're gonna keep those exhaust pulses separated. So it's going to be almost like I have 2 turbos, except I'm going to have 1. So each exhaust pulse is going to go all the way through the T4 divided flange, and it's going to be independent of the back 3 cylinders all the way until it hits the turbine wheel. It's going to help for spool, and it's going to make it that much better. If you look at how easy that turbo spins, the one that we took off, if I dig it back out of here, I will show you it does not do that. As a comparison, look at how tiny this is. These ones are probably journal bearing, and you cannot spin it like that. It will not freewheel. So it stops as soon as you let off the pressure on it. The reason why I'm saying that, it's not just for clicks, it's not just for Instagram stuff. That means that this is so free spinning that this will help with spool. So when it's free spinning like that, this thing will spool way quicker than a journal bearing turbo, similar to what you just saw there. So I took off all the lines. You'll see all this mess of lines here. We got oil lines, we got coolant lines, and we have lines for dual purposes. I took this over to our local shop over here, Tubes and Hoses. I could have done it myself, but it was just quicker and cheaper and easier to get them to do it. So ended up getting them to braze these fittings on. So we've got our dash 10 for our oil return, and then we'll put that on there. We're gonna have a dash 10 return line coming out of the turbo, and then we've got our 4AN feed fitting. So this comes off of here. And originally, if I kind of organize the lines for you guys, I'll show you guys kind of what used to happen. So before, you can see here, this got cut there. That used to feed there, and it used to feed both turbos. So we got rid of that whole assembly. Now we got a 4AN coming out of the block. That's gonna be our oil pressure coming out, feeding our turbo, and then the 10AN. And then what I have to do right now actually is this is the second drain line. And what I'm gonna do is pop off the gasket so we don't wreck it. And then I am going to plug this up. So that way we don't have an opening. Because right now we've got 2 turbo drain back lines. Our feed's gonna come from there. These 2 are the ones that return back into the oil pan, but we need to block one of them off, so I'm gonna use the plate they already got. And we're gonna make that block off plate, and it's already got the gasket. It'll be good to go there. So let me go ahead, TIG weld that up. We're gonna cut this here, and then we'll plug this, and then that will be done. One more thing that we don't have to deal with. All right, so I ended up TIG welding it. Not too sure, it looks more like a mild steel with a coating on it, because I tried doing it with stainless and it didn't really like the color too much. But anyways, she's all plugged up. I'm gonna go ahead, clean it up, might hit it with some paint just so it doesn't rust or anything or look ugly. But anyways, this is gonna be the cap for our drain line on the block, since we are not gonna have that second turbo. All right, so our T4 flange showed up, but unfortunately I'm not gonna be able to use this. So what I was gonna do originally was go 2.5 inch out of each exhaust manifold that's cast into the head into the divided T4, which this was supposed to be when it showed up like this, but then if you look, it does not maintain the division. I can wrap my finger right around that. So I'm gonna return this. The pictures online didn't depict that, so she's gonna go back. So I'm gonna get another one. I just actually ordered one that's all actually CNC machined. So this one was obviously a cheaper overseas one, but figured I could make do with it. I don't know how long we're gonna be keeping it in this configuration, so I figured whatever, this would work. But with it not having that division in the middle, I don't feel like trying to weld in a wall and do all that stuff. The other piece is a lot nicer, and it already has the 2.5 inch circle portion right there ready to weld. So went ahead, ordered that, but that's gonna delay us a little bit on that. and then let me show you the next thing. All right, so while we wait for some other parts to arrive, we've still got a lot of work to do, and we've got a lot of parts here that we can put to work. So huge shout out to Holley, because they make fuel system stuff just that much easier. So we've got this Holley in-tank module. I don't know if you guys can see that. We got some weird glare going on here. There we go. Holley's in-tank module, and it's pretty cool because the part that I like the most about these, we've used this on a bunch of our different Hemi and Hellcat swap builds, is they are configurable to whatever you want, really. So this one we got, it has an in-tank regulator right there, and it's a returnless setup. But you'll also notice here on this cap, it has a return port. So you can open this up, run it return style, do all sorts of stuff. It's a drop-in module. It's got your fuel level sensor on it as well as the float, the filter sock, all that stuff ready to go. So we got that. We've got Mr. gaskets for our lines, and then we're gonna do a 10 AN feed, an 8 AN return. We're gonna filter it through Holley's fuel filter. So this is a 10 micron filter. It's got a 10 AN on both sides, so no restrictions there. And then we've got some other stuff. We've got the bracket for the fuel filter, so we'll mount that sucker. And then the other thing we've got too is this. I really like these from Earl's, and you could cheap out and go with another company, but this is the part where I would not cheap out on this stuff, you guys. Earl's is a trusted brand. They've been around forever, and when you're dealing with fuel, you do not want a fuel leak. It's the last thing you want to be messing with. So this has an O-ring in it, and it connects to your factory fuel line. So this is a 1/2 inch, same as the Hellcats, ironically. So just as far as giving you guys an indication of how much fuel this thing will consume, this is the exact same 1/2 inch line that a Hellcat uses. So that'll slip onto our factory connection right there, give us a 10 AN there. And then we'll end up mounting, probably somewhere in this vicinity, our fuel pressure regulator with our return line out of there. We're still waiting for that to arrive, but in the meantime, we can still get everything else rigged up. I also got some other trick stuff, but let's go ahead and pull the stock fuel sending units, get this kind of configured, because we have to adjust our depth for the bottom of the tank, and it's adjustable. That way you get the fuel sock on the bottom of the tank. They give you that adjustment there just to make sure you're dialed in 100%. So let's get to it and get this stuff underway. So first step, now that we've got this out of the car, is you essentially want to see what kind of height we're dealing with. This has a spring in it. I can't really push it down anymore, but it is adjustable, whereas this we're going to have a fixed rate. So we're going to go into the car and measure the tank and see how deep it is to the edge of our top hat there, and then that way we're going to adjust these rails accordingly to that depth. That way the fuel sock is all the way at the bottom of the tank. So we'll measure that, and then we can adjust this as necessary. Okay, you guys, if you've been watching the channel for a little bit, you guys know that I can't leave well enough alone. So I ended up hopping this fuel assembly from Holley up. This is why I love these fuel sending units from them, because you can do stuff like this. So I went ahead and I upgraded both pumps, and then I put 2 pumps. So we've got dual pumps on here, and because they give you all these optional ports on the top, you can do whatever you want. So now I've got 2 pumps. They're going to come out of there, and then we're going to use the return line over there also. So lots and lots of options, and we're all rigged up. So we got the dual socks there, and I got it all ready to go. So I'm still waiting for the Earl's fittings to get here, but for now we can go ahead and put this in the vehicle, get this situated. Also got to do some wiring as well, but I can get that in there. And then over here you can see that we've got this Holley fuel filter. I got that all rigged up with the fittings, and then I'm gonna end up using this Y. So we're gonna come out from each pump dual 8 AN, and then it's gonna go into our 10 AN. That's gonna go from there, feed to our filter. Obviously the flow of the filter is gonna be that way as we travel towards the front of the vehicle. And yeah, that's essentially the layout that we're gonna end up having once it's in the vehicle. So let's get this thing installed, and then we can move on to the next step. All right, so we got the Holley in-tank module in there. What I just finished doing is I brought the Allen key over here, and I literally just adjusted it so that our fuel pickup socks are right at the bottom of our tank. Got to factor in a little bit of a, maybe not even an 1/8 inch for the gasket once that's in there. So I just put it in, put it out. This is fully seating now on the neck here. So I didn't want to also jam the pumps right into the bottom, but got that there. We're gonna put the gasket in. I'm gonna put my float on, and then I can put the collar back on here. At least now the tank will be all sealed up, and I can get the fittings in here once they show up. All right, there it is, you guys. So it's all installed. This is my second pump, so I routed it through the fitting on the vent. That way I had the wires for my secondary pump, and we just gotta wire this in. Like I said, get the fuel fittings, but at least now the tank is all sealed up, and while we wait for those fittings to show up, we can run the wiring and do a few other things. Okay, switching gears just slightly. Here's the gaskets for our turbos, and then here is that drain. So I ended up plug welding it and then painted it, so that's good to go. Here's the 2 gaskets, and actually the gaskets are a little bit smaller than the actual flange on the turbo themselves. But my stainless steel plate ended up showing up, so I traced them here, and now I'm just using the plasma cutter, cutting them out, and then we'll clean up our edges once we get the rough cuts out. And then right there is our port size, so we'll go ahead and we'll cut out our ports, and then like I said, clean it all up afterwards. But let me get to plasma cutting. All right, guys, after hours of cutting, grinding, and drilling, we've got our flanges all made up. So there's one there, and then here's the other one here. So, ooh, we got some crazy thunder. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, but damn, it's got some bass. And then I ended up cutting it out with the plasma cutter, and then kind of getting it into rough shape with the flap wheel and our belt sander. And then I just used this burring bit and just got it right into shape, just fit the original gasket over top it until it was exact. And now we've got those done. So I'm gonna clean up my mess, bring the car back down, we'll test fit it, see how it goes, see how it looks. Other thing I ended up picking up is this intercooler. I think I was telling you about this. So I got this intercooler. It's actually a name brand one. I don't want to say the name brand, but it's on there. So it's a legit one. It's a bar and plate one, so it's not a tube and fin. So it's a good core as far as how it is. And then I actually have underneath it my intercooler that was originally supposed to be for a F1X kit for that. The reason why I'm not using it, even though it'll bolt straight up to the car, is because it has a single inlet and then dual outlet on the top for twin throttle bodies, whereas we don't need a dual outlet, we just need single in, single out. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Other reason why I'm going air to air is for simplicity. We don't have to carry a water tank, we don't have to mount a pump. It's just a lot more simple. For just a single pass, it's gonna be plenty. All right, check it out, you guys. So our flanges came out really, really good. I'm happy with how that's worked out. It's kind of interesting. I matched them up to the gaskets, and the gaskets, it's an exact match to the gasket, but you can see the port there is actually smaller than the gasket itself. But anyways, those are gonna work out beautifully. So both of those match up. But I'm still waiting on a few exhaust components to arrive. We've got one drain, one caps, oil feed, so that's all ready to go, so we can start getting the turbo in there. But I ended up finishing up the brackets for the rear. So here's the brackets. I got them welded, painted up. So these are our rear 15-inch brake conversion kit. So this will allow us to put 15s on. And then I also got brand new Mickeys mounted to our 15-inch tires. I'm probably gonna end up getting some smaller ones. These are probably gonna be a little too big, but anyways, just kind of a mock-up thing. Let's go ahead, get our brackets on there, and show you guys all that process with our brakes all installed. Okay, check it out, you guys. Pretty happy with how that all turned out. So can utilize the parking brake again. I just have to hook it up, and then we've got the brand new rotors on here. Everything lines up beautifully. There you go, we've got that back on there. And just so I'm clear, I don't know if I've already said this, but this is the original rear caliper off of these Vipers. It's tiny, but it's the original one that came on it. And then I'll show you guys this side. So they're both ready to go. Right here, here's this side. So same deal. She's all mounted up, ready to go. I've got this little spacer here, but let's go ahead and put that wheel on the other side. Kind of see how that tire fits and just how everything clears. And then that part is done. All right, well, that tire is huge and way too big. So I'm definitely gonna have to go smaller, but I had these here in stock. So we'll get a smaller tire on here, but the 15 will fit. All right, so here's just the wheel itself, and we've got tons of clearance on this factory 15. So if we went aftermarket, we'd have even more clearance, but Even on the lower ball joint nut there, it's close, but it is not rubbing. So only other close spot is the upper ball joint, but still clears. So if I wanted to give myself a little bit more clearance, I could run a tiny spacer, but she clears. Well, things are getting a little hairy. It's never a good day for the ACR when the Sawzall comes out. So ended up having to trim some stuff on the front end, and then now I'm about to get these brackets sorted out. So here we go. So I'm gonna get these welded on here. This is going to mimic where this bracket goes here. That'll mount onto the front frame rails there, and then I can get this intercooler on here with the single in, single out. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna bust out the TIG welder, weld these brackets in place, and that'll give me my exact positioning. And then I also got this piece on the top that I need to weld on as well, but I'll get that on there, no big deal. Let me get to TIGging. All right, so pretty happy with the way this all turned out, you guys. Like I said, I just took that intercooler, which is for the V10, for a supercharger kit on that, and I ended up just kind of mimicking it and doing the same thing with this intercooler that we got. So it's all mounted up. This all bolts up. This thing is on here solid, mounts to the existing bolts on the front here. And then what I got to do is I have to mark this the same way there's the holes here on the top plate here. That way the bumper, it essentially has those Christmas tree clips that go in there. So that way I can get those established for the bumper. So I think that should be about where the height that it needs to be. This thing does have a little bit of adjustability, so where you can move it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and hang the bumper on here, see how that all fits, make sure that's all good. And then we can start making room for a 3-inch intercooler piping to get into the bay here from both sides. All right, well, I am super happy with the way that worked out, you guys. Worked out beautifully. So now I can mark my holes right here for those Christmas tree clips, but bumper fits beautifully. Even down in here, everything clears really, really nice. So that's all set up. Like I said, really happy with the way that came out. It'll get a little bit close on our couplings here, but nothing really to be too concerned with. So that's that. I can pop the bumper back off. Now I need to make some holes for our intercooler pipes to come through here where it kind of exits. I'll show you guys once I end up doing it, but got to get one so that it can come up, one to go that way towards our throttle body, and then the other one's going to come up through and that way towards our turbo. So we're going to have a charge pipe that way and a charge pipe that way. All right, next up we are cutting the VIPER. So we need to cut some holes through here. This is like a fiberglass composite structure, like front radiator support, kind of holds everything in. It includes your fender liners, all those good bits. So we need to make that hole there. This is also, like I said, since that supercharger kit went this way, I'm following the same route, and these are the templates from that also. So I'm gonna do that, and then we also have to make a hole there, go through that, so that's gonna go through there. So let me go ahead, get those holes cut out there, and that way we'll be able to pass our intercooler piping through. Okay, so I got the welding helmet on, and I'll be honest, I didn't film a ton of this because it was something that I just had to dive headfirst into, dig into it, and just kind of go to town on it. So here we've got our turbo. So here is our HPT turbo, and I'm getting it all configured. I'll tell you guys a little bit more about the details a little bit later. I don't want to drop too much about it just here, just in case. Well, actually, shouldn't say just in case. I know the other competitors are going to be watching this, so I'm not trying to give away any secrets, you guys. So I'm getting this fabbed up. I was using this engine, what do you call it, stand? I can't even remember what it's called. And essentially, it's just if you're dropping the transmission or you need to hold your engine, so I guess engine support stand is probably what you would call it. Using that to hold the turbo in place where I want it, and then getting everything fabbed up. So what I did was I used my metal saw, cut about 1,000,000 pies, and it's just a disaster here right now. But I used the pipe, and I chose to go with pie cuts because I wanted to use this thicker gauge pipe instead of actually using something thinner like a 16 gauge like this. You can hear the physical difference in it. It's just, this is so much thicker. This is more prone to cracking And I wanted to get some of this, but by getting mandrel bends in this, two things. We don't really have much room to work with, so I wanted to get a tighter bend, and I can only achieve a tighter radius with doing pie cuts. And then the other thing is those mandrel bends in that thicker stuff there, the actual pipe grade quality, like it's essentially industrial pipe for like, you know, food and stuff where stainless needs to be used. It's really expensive. It's like $36 for like a tiny little 45 or 90 even for that matter. And to try to get one of those, cut it up and try to make it work with a tight radius wasn't gonna happen. So anyways, this is what I've got. I've just been back purging it with argon, TIG welding it, and it's coming out really, really nice, you guys. So if you guys have been following along in the channel for a while, we've been just using just regular welders anybody can get for really cheap. We've been using kind of just offshore welders. And then I finally invested into this Miller with my own money, not sponsored, nothing like that, but ended up investing into it. And now I can actually start getting some half decent welds after welding with cheap overseas welders for a while. So anyways, I got a little bit more to do over here. I'm just kind of letting it cool down because I got my silicone back purge cones here, and this thing is just getting kind of hot, and I got to weld in here. So just kind of letting it cool a little bit. But yeah, pretty happy with the results. I'll try to get some other footage of this as well, but I got one side done. So this is what I meant. I got a really, really tight radius and had to do this crazy turn to get it where I wanted and where I was happy with it. So I'm doing one side first. I'm going to get it over there, get it tacked in place, and I'll tack it on to our flanges that are on our heads, and then get the turbo kind of situated. And then you can see here, this is what I was doing with all my pie cuts and just kind of getting it into place. So holding them all where I like them, and then we'll end up getting this into place, and I can do the pie cuts on the other side and complete the bend and get the other 3 cylinders matched into there. So that's what I'm working on right now. Let me get to welding, continue on, and hopefully my plan is to be able to have this turbo mounted finally. Still waiting on the wastegates to show up, and I got to cut those wastegates into this that you see here, because we're gonna have 2 wastegates, so 1 on each side. But I'm gonna have to open up a hole. We can always do that later, not a big deal. Probably end up putting them on the bottom, but that is the update for you guys. Let me keep going. All right, guys, I am super happy the way this thing is coming out. So check this out. So I ended up spending a bunch of time, ended up getting the turbo itself just tacked into place a couple ways just to allow for any movement. Some of the stuff you guys do or don't know has a tendency to shrink or move. So I want to make sure the very last bit of it, we can allow for any adjustment in any of that warpage if that does occur. So really happy with the placement of everything, and you guys will be maybe happy. Haven't fully decided yet. But I originally, me and my buddy Brett, we were holding the turbo up. We test fitted the hood. We have a ton of clearance on it. The hood actually does clear all of that. I was originally going to bring the turbo up, stick it out of the hood, make it look all crazy. But after sitting in the car, all I was doing was staring at the back of the turbo. And I don't know, for some reason it just annoyed me. I gotta tell you guys, it did annoy me a little bit. So, and I saw in the last video, I do read your guys' comments. I might not have a chance to respond to all of your comments, but I do read them. And everybody said, don't cut the hood and send the exhaust either out the side or out the back. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I haven't decided. I might still potentially come this way with the exhaust and come out the hood, but haven't fully decided. Either way, the turbo is sitting below the engine just ever so slightly, so the turbo will at least stay underneath the hood. Other reason is we are in Florida and it has tendency to rain, so if I made the turbo stick out of the hood and it rains here in Florida, which it does almost daily, if you sucked in a bunch of water, if I decide to take this thing for a cruise, it could potentially hydrolock the engine. So there's just a lot of factors that kind of went into it, but I still gotta weld all the shape and get this horn into there, which I'm gonna spend the time doing today. But it is Friday, and I promise you guys every Friday I will drop a new episode updating you guys on the build. So I'm filming this, I still gotta work on the rest of this, but I wanted to keep you guys up to date. So as of right now, we've got less than 30 days to get this thing ready because we are racing August 9th in Pontiac, Michigan on Woodward Avenue. So thanks again to all of our partners, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.